For the most realistic steering system available on the market, look no further than Sim Steering from Leo Bodnar. Designed and hand-built at the home of British Motorsport's Silverstone circuit, it's extensively used by professional driver training centres and race teams including Formula 1 since 2010. The high precision and completely linear response coupled with high strength provides the ultimate in realistic steering force feedback. Visit simsteering.com.
Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC. GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels including Logitech, Fanatec, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.
Good evening iRacers and welcome to Apex Racing TV's broadcast of the Skip Barber 2K Cup. This is round 4 from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We are running the road course with South Oval. My name is Lee Thompson and joining me as normal is Conrad Venter. Good evening, Conrad.
Good evening, Lee. It's nice to be back.
We have a very unfamiliar track to us this week, don't we, Conrad? At say New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's an interesting layout actually. When I only jumped on a few minutes ago and see that the road course isn't what we traditionally expect of an oval road course. It's not within the confines of the oval. It extends up into the hill at the back of it.
Yeah, you do one half of the oval, and then it's almost like you jump through the fence to the outside of the perimeters of the track, and do a little bit out there before coming back in.
Yeah, it looks like an interesting little layout. Pretty twisty, lots of elevation change, and some tricky looking curbs as well. But it really looks like an interesting little track for the guys to get their teeth stuck into. I can't really imagine much overtaking opportunity in the road layout. I suspect they're really going to be waiting for all of the overtakes coming into turn. What turn is it going to be for the road course? Turn 4, sorry. As they come off the oval and dive into the road section for the first time. So I think that's where all the action's going to be for the day.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that's the only viable place to go for an overtake where you can afford to go too wide. Other than that, yeah, it's probably just waiting for somebody to make a mistake and getting them on the exit of a corner. But it is a very short course. It's only 1.5 miles long, and it's got 13 corners as well. So yeah, short and twisty. It should be interesting.
We are just about halfway through our 10-minute qualifying session, where each of the drivers are running alone on the track, and they have 3 laps to put in their qualifying mark. Currently leading the standings provisional pole position is series coordinator Philip Labert with a 1 minute 9.375, which is just a tenth off the best that he managed in the practice session leading up to it. I think we'll have a quick look at the championship standings first of all, see where the standings are after the 3 previous rounds. So currently leading the standards is Apex Racing UK's own Sebastian Job. He's actually missing from the round this week at New Hampshire, so he's leading the series by 21 points over Vinicius Rocha, who is in the session. So this is his big opportunity to really perhaps jump ahead of Sebastian and get some big points in. Then in 3rd position is Ricardo Ferreira with Philip Labert, then in joint 4th position with LJ Garnett. Matteo Brancini is in 6th with Graham Carroll in 7th. Graham Carroll having his pretty strong last couple of races, 3rd and 4th place in the last couple of races. Matt Defoe then is in 8th with Sebastian Taper in 9th, and Rico Alatello, race winner from Lime Rock Park, missing again for this round, is currently in 10th position in the standings. So yeah, we've got a couple of names missing from that top 10 for this week, so big opportunity for others to move forward, Conrad.
Yeah, all 3 of the previous race winners is absent tonight, so it provides the opportunity for somebody else to pick up the big points and close the gap on first place.
So still heading up qualifying is Philip Labour still with that 1 minute 9.348. Currently 10th and a half back then is Kevin Vaughan, Bart Delat then in third, and we're really expecting Vinicius Rocha and Ricardo Ferreira to be a little bit closer to the sharp end, so let's have a quick scroll through and see if they're still on a lap or if they have missed their opportunity. It looks like they've missed their opportunity, so Vinicius Rocha and Ricardo Ferreira 4th and 5th on the grid at the minute, and they are 2nd and 3rd in the championship standings. They'll be a little bit disappointed with that, I think, especially with those big guys missing from the championship.
Yeah, one guy we still have out on track that I don't see as still a lap time is Michel Mancusi, returning Michel Mancusi. I think we missed him last week. He's just coming through the final corner now. Let's see if he puts in a lap time.
Yeah, and he does a 1 minute 9.7 for now, which puts him 9th on the grid for the minute. But it looks like he's still on another hot lap, so we've got just a couple of minutes left for him to put in his final attempts.
Yeah, it's only the two drivers still at the Duncan Coppage. Looks like he's on another hot lap. He's currently in 12th with a 1 minute 10.0, and like you said, Michel Mancusi is coming into the back end of the track now.
So don't forget that you can find Apex Racing TV on Facebook and on Twitter. The links will be shown just now, so feel free to check into this and ask any questions that you may have about the series or anything else. We'll try and keep an eye on it during the session, but otherwise we can respond to anything in next week's broadcast as well. So Michel Mancusi just about to finish up his next attempt, just coming back onto the oval section and heading to the start finish line. He got a 9.7 last time round. This time he perhaps had an incident somewhere on the lap, I think, because he got a dirty lap.
Yeah, I think it looks like he's left it a little bit late. He's the last of the runners, and just starting his third and final lap. Interesting thing about this session though is the race is not as big as we've seen in the previous 3 rounds.
Yeah, so we have got a few guys missing, haven't we? So we've got 20 runners in the session, I think, in qualifying. Whereas, how many did we have at Donington Park last week? We had 30 cars in the race, I think, at Donington Park. So perhaps this wasn't really a favourite of those guys, maybe, but we'll hopefully look forward to an entertaining race nonetheless. It will be interesting to see whether the good guys do get strung out a little bit through that road section, and I'd imagine there's going to be a little bit of a tow through the oval, but it's a short oval course. So just while we're waiting now for the session to swap over into race, just a quick shout out to Apex Racing TV sponsors, long-time sponsors, Leo Bodner. You can check out their website. Remember, they're going to also have simsteering.com as well, part of their brand, and GT Omega Racing for all of your cockpit needs. Right, so session is switching over and qualifying results are in. So Philip Labour held on to that pole position with his 1 minute 9.348, 10th and a half up on then Kevin Vaughan. Bart Delat just 0.03 of a second behind Kevin in 3rd, with Vinicius Rocha 4th, Ricardo Ferreira in 5th, Graham Carroll 6th, George Wiseman 7th, Will Fisher 8th, and Michel Mancusi 9th. We've got Chris McGowan then in 10th, Brock Hopkins 11th, Duncan Coppage 12th, Marco Derricks 13th, Sergio Alvarez 14th, Frank Castillo 15th, Tim Wick in 16th, Rich Jones 17th, Dan Nygaard 18th, Christian Manzini 19th, Rob Adams in 20th, and then we will see if Fahim Antoinades and Bill Lawrence take part in a session because they did not put in a qualifying time.
Bill Lawrence has gridded up. We might just have a little look if we get a little moment through the race. I think there might be a little bit of controversy with the session switching over while Mancusi was still on his final qualifying lap.
Alright, so revs are building, lights are about to go green. Philip Labour starting from that pole position, gets a good initial launch, and straight away Kevin Vaughan comes over to tuck into his slipstream a little bit, tries to get a little bit of a run as they head towards turn 1. Graham Carroll looks to have gotten a good start, or Vinicius Rocha looks to have got a good start in 4th as well. But now Kevin Vaughan actually is going to be under pressure from Bardelat. Contact between Bardelat and Kevin Vaughan there. They're going to collect anybody else behind. It looks like just about everybody else has managed to scrape by. It's a real shame to start off the race there.
Yeah, Mancusi got caught up in that as well. He's pulling over, and he might need a new car after that. He's back in the pits. Getting towed around. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's unfortunately that's the nature of ovals. If somebody somewhere in the front or the middle makes a mistake and gathers somebody else, then yeah, it's likely that some of the guys towards the back is going to get involved as well.
Yeah, I think we had another incident as well, just coming into turn 4, entering the road section. I think it was Brock Hopkins, I think I saw on his roof. So we got in a bit of a tangle there. But back at the front, we've got Philip Labour leading from Vinicius Rocha. So Vinicius Rocha's had a good start from that 4th position qualifying spot. Then we have Graham Carroll just behind in 3rd, and Ricardo Ferreira 4th, Will Fisher in 5th. Duncan Coppedge, great start from Duncan Coppedge. He's up into 6th position now from 12th on the grid. And then we have got Marco Derrick 7th, George Wiseman 8th, Sergio Alvarez 9th, and rounding up top 10 currently is Chris McGowan.
Yeah, Kevin Vaughan is an early casualty then on that first lap, disconnecting early. And that's certainly with the 3 previous race winners not here tonight. It's a missed opportunity for him. We've got that incident has just caused a big early spread through the field as well, from to Rob Adams, who's just currently in 19th position, about 13.5 seconds behind.
So Vinicius Rocha looks to be on the move a little bit. He's closed a little bit in this last half a lap now onto the back of Philip Labour as they come back onto the oval section again to start a new lap. Vinicius Rocha right in the gearbox now of Philip Labour. We'll see how much of a run he's able to carry through turn 1 and 2. Just going to sit in that slipstream for now, but Graham Carroll there is patiently waiting just in that 3rd position. Vinicius Rocha taking a much wider line than both Philippe and Graham, and it looks like he's lost out a little bit there. Graham Carroll now is much more with Vinicius than he is with Philippe.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a few different driving lines coming through the oval section, and that's giving them different entry speeds into turn 4 as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they adjust that to get the run on each other, going into that overtaking spot that we identified earlier.
Yeah, from that first example that we really paid attention to, certainly looked like that tighter line worked out better for Philippe and for Graham. It seems like Graham Carroll's running a different livery this week. He's been previously running the Martini livery, the same as Vinicius, so whether that's a change of team there perhaps for Graham. He's just running a base Force India livery, it looks like, this week. Ricardo Ferreira now is making this a 4-car group. He's right up with him. Will Fisher now is a little bit in no man's land in that 5th position. I think that's a new name for us for this series in the 2K Cup. Duncan Coppedge looking pretty secure in his 6th position, but we've got Brock Hopkins being lapped by Marco Derricks, George Wiseman a couple of seconds back, Sergio Alvarez then in 9th, and Chris McGowan in 10th. So yeah, back from those top 4 cars, everyone's just strung out a little bit, second and a half between each car.
And Ricardo Ferreira with fastest lap of the race so far, and they're just pulling himself back up to that top 3. And that last lap he did was a 1 minute 9.4.
And just to remind either existing viewers or new viewers, welcome to the Skip Barber 2K Cup. These guys have a mandatory pit stop that they need to make due to fuel restrictions. So they are all starting on 2.1 gallons of fuel, and we're expecting them in for a scheduled pit stop somewhere between laps 12 and laps 22. So Vinicius Rocha has made up that little bit of time again on Philippe Labour up in 1st position. He's just gained a little bit on Graham Carroll, broken away slightly. George Wiseman at the minute looks like he's under a little bit of more pressure now from Sergio Alvarez, as he's just getting tucked up behind Brock Hopkins, who very sensibly moves out of the way before they get to turn 1. So George Wiseman just needing to keep a bit more of an eye now in those mirrors, but you know, these guys know this is a relatively long race for a Skip Barber car. Lots can change through that pit stop phase as well.
That's 34 laps, and it looks like something that Mancusi has recognised as well. Although he's a lap down, he's out there again after that first lap incident, and he's certainly got the pace to unlap himself through the majority of the field. But yeah, it'll be good to see if he can make an impact on the midfield from where he is now.
Yeah, this top car, 4-car battle look like it's really going to be interesting to be watching as we go through the group. It keeps seeming to ebb and flow, maybe through different parts of the circuit, maybe where that's set-up differences between with somebody being able to carry more speed through that oval turn of turns 1 and 2, and others being able to gain then through the tight, twistier sections and the elevation changes and the braking through the road course out the back. But again, Vinicius Rocha seems to take a much wider line going through turns 1 and 2, and it doesn't seem to be working for him again. He's lost lots of time to Philippe in front, and Graham Carroll now is right back in his gearbox again.
Just having a look at one of the biggest losers from lap 1, Bart de Laat, and he must have his hands full at the moment as Mancusi loses it again, and de Laat has made contact once more with as a car rolling. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, Mancusi has decided that enough is enough. He has manually disconnected, but yeah, not a great start to the race then for Bart de Laat. He had a strong outing last week at Donington Park, finishing in 8th place, and he's regularly been there and thereabouts in those previous couple of weeks as well. And Bart de Laat has also decided that enough is enough.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he must have had his hands full before that crash, because he was driving without a front wing. And it's like a commentator's curse tonight. Every time we look at someone or we mention someone, they seem to be rolling down into turn 4.
Vinicius Rocha really pressuring Philippe Labour as they head into turn 1, but he carried much too much momentum, had a big oversteer moment halfway through then turn 2, and Graham Carroll's looking to shape up to go around the outside as they head towards turn 3 and 4. Graham Carroll just touches the grass a little bit on the braking, looks to carry the speed through the apex. Whoa, big whack of the outside curb for Graham Carroll. Loses a little bit of momentum, I think. Vinicius Rocha holding on to that 2nd place for now, and Ricardo Ferreira's waiting there to mop up. Graham Carroll looks to come up the inside now into turn 6. Vinicius Rocha has to take a late wide line going through that banked hairpin. Graham Carroll bailed out of it a little bit, and now Ricardo Ferreira is right up his gearbox.
Yeah, it's not really a section of the track where you want to take too many risks. One wheel off the track and you're on the grass, and as we can see, there's a lot of walls and a lot of tyre barriers around. And
we will wait and see how the next couple of laps develop, but I think that Graham Carroll has lost his front wing, whacking that outside curb going through turn 5 there, so I hope for his sake that's just what my client is showing me on my screen, but we'll see how his pace shapes up now in the next lap or 2.
Yeah, I've got him down as driving without a front wing as well. There is loads of cones in that corner coming out of turn 4, and yeah, he managed to spread them like Skittles. Yeah,
and I think it was in that deep outside curb and just after those cones that they're coming through now that would have really caused that damage. But he's able to hang in there for now, half a lap or so since I've noticed that front wing damage, and he's not seeming to drop back too much, if at all. So we'll keep a close eye on. So these top 4 cars still all just within a second or so of each other. Dropping further back, we've got Will Fisher still in no man's land in 5th, with Duncan Coppedge then in 6th. Marco Derrick's now under lots of pressure from George Wiseman, so George Wiseman's looking to move forward. Good battle there between 7th and 8th. I think we're going to watch him as they come through the road section. Different line from George there as he tries to maybe just distract Marco a little bit in his mirrors as they head back towards the oval again.
Yeah, Graham Carroll has some amazing mechanics, because miraculously that front wing has appeared again.
Oh, and George Wiseman runs a little bit hot going into turn 12-13, so he's lost all of that good work that he was doing trying to catch up on Marco. I think he just outbraked himself a little bit coming through towards turn 12, and he's got it all to do again.
Yeah, apart from the front running 3 as a nice spread through the field once again, and Rob Adams who's made his way up from 19th to 18th the last couple of laps, is 23 seconds behind.
And Graham Carroll ran deep into turn 4 again, lost him lots of momentum. Meanwhile, Vinicius Rocha stuck his nose up the inside of Philip Labour, coming through turn 6. They're running side by side now through turns 7 and 8, and Vinicius has to just yield in the end. Graham Carroll now right back with him. So these 4 cars keep ebbing and flowing as we go lap by lap. And Graham Carroll now looking to be one on the move, pressuring Vinicius Rocha as they come through turn 11 into this braking zone. Tricky braking through turn 12 as it's almost like a little chicane as you're in the middle of your braking zone. Vinicius Rocha now has got a great exit coming out at turn 13. He's looking to pressure Philip Labour as head towards turn 1. Is he going to make a dive up the inside? I think he's just going to sit in his gearbox for the minute. So Vinicius Rocha seems to be taking cues from the lines from those other cars around us. He took a much tighter line going through turns 1 and 2 that time, and seems to hold his ground much better. Didn't seem to lose anything from the cars around. But Philip Labour runs a little bit deep into turn 4. Vinicius Rocha takes the opportunity up into first position for a minute. They're running side by side. Turn 6. Graham Carroll almost making it 3 wide. Ricardo Ferreira right there as well. We're almost 3 cars wide as they head towards that bank section of turn 6, but Philip Labour has recovered into that first place. Looks like Graham Carroll's now going to be odds on to take second, but Vinicius Rocha takes a big cut of a corner through turn 7 and 8, and Vinicius Rocha desperately trying to hold on around the outside. Yeah, you're right to make a noise, Conrad. Just a little bit of contact, I fear, between Vinicius Rocha and Graham Carroll, whilst Philip Labour has a big sideways moment coming back towards the oval section.
Yeah, I think Graham Carroll had just a little bit more of his front wing modified there, and has got Ricardo Ferreira all over the back of him as well.
This is looking like this is going to be shaping up for a cracking race. So we had 3 changes of position for first spot just in that first half a lap there, and somehow with that little bit of contact in the middle, they've all ended up back where they started again.
Yeah, it certainly is. This track is providing a lot more action than I anticipated. Labour is having a big moment into turn 4 again.
Yeah, and Vinicius seems to have got a much better drive. I think Graham Carroll's going to have a jump on Philip Labour as well, so Philip Labour is going to be relegated into 3rd. See how brave he is on the brakes going into turn 6, but Graham Carroll goes quite defensive. Ricardo Ferreira, meanwhile, goes straight round the outside of Philip Labour, but doesn't manage to get the exit speed, and he's relegated back into 4th again. But Vinicius Rocha now up into 1st, Graham Carroll 2nd, Philip Labour in 3rd, and Ricardo Ferreira is looking to get in on that action and shuffle Philip all the way down into 4th in the space of 1 lap.
It doesn't look like the guys have too much trouble defending into turn 6. It's quite a banked corner, so they can afford to take the inside line and be quite aggressive on the brakes going into the corner as well. So going around the outside is might be a little bit difficult.
We'll see how Philip gets on in the next couple of laps. To me, it looks like he has front wing damage now, so I'm seeing Graham Carroll and Philip Labour with a little bit of a bent front wing. Rocha and Carroll are going to be sensible here not to squabble for the next lap or 2 and see if they can just break away slightly.
I think Philip Labour will be mightily relieved if he can get through turn 4 without any problems this time around, as he does. He's just got Ricardo Ferreira right behind him, just having a little look.
And meanwhile, I'm seeing Will Fisher in the background, seeing a podium position potentially. All it's going to take is these cars just to get a little bit of a squabble. Vinicius Rocha and Graham Carroll side by side again as they come through turn 8. I see a cone go flying as one is clipped as they head through now turn 9 and 10. This is tricky to be side by side. They're going to get back on towards that oval section safely. Looks like Graham Carroll's got that position. Ricardo Ferreira and Philip Labour almost tangle as Vinicius Rocha dives across at the last moment, but somehow Philip manages to avoid contact, and now Graham Carroll's going to cross the line in first. Vinicius Rocha, then Philip Labour, and Ricardo Ferreira losing a few car lengths coming onto the front straight.
Yeah, I hope somebody's mixing the energy drinks. These guys are definitely going to need it after this race. There are only 12 laps in. It's also the period where we start looking at guys starting to make their pit stops. But yeah, these 4 at the front are going at it, hammer and tongs. They are definitely sensing an opportunity here for a win.
And I think with that squabbling on that lap, that was a very, very slow lap in comparison to normal for those top 4 guys, because Will Fisher now is right with them. This is almost a 5-car group now, with Will Fisher, yeah, well and truly sniffing potential podium position, as I said a moment ago. Graham Carroll still looking like he's going to hold this position for a minute as they come through turn 6. No change of position this time.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what the state of mind of Fisher is at the moment. I mean, I've been in a position like this before. You're sort of thinking, yeah, I would like to mix it with the guys in front, but on the other hand, you'd rather just sit there, maybe a second and a half back, and hoping they run into each other.
Yeah, I think you're right. He wants to keep a little bit of a buffer just to have time to react, but he does need to be keeping an eye on guys behind as well. So Duncan Coppage in 6th isn't a million miles back, just what, 2.5, 3 seconds back or so. And Marco Derrick's not much further there with 7th. George Wiseman, meanwhile, hasn't been able to recover from that that error earlier, and he's still a little way back in 8th position.
I think Marco Derrick's just he's got a fastest lap of a 109.6, which is a very good lap time, but it just seems like there's the odd mistake here and there that's just preventing him from catching up to those front 4 or 5.
Ricardo Ferreira practically had half his car on the grass, on the brakes coming into turn 4 there, but somehow managed to slow it down enough not to get into the back of Philip Labert. Vinicius Rocha showed his nose to Graham Carroll as ahead through turn 6, but Graham Carroll has managed to defend for now.
Yeah, again, like always, it's going to be interesting. Which one of these guys is going to blink first and get into the pits? Interesting thing about the entry to this pit lane is it's right on the racing line. So as you come up to the pit where they are now, you will peel off to the left like Philip Labert's doing, and he's into the pits.
Yeah, good spot, Conrad. It's tough. Not only I'm just going to watch Vinicius Rocha look to go up the inside now. Graham Carroll's at turn 1. Hopefully Vinicius doesn't drift out and take that wider line like he has been, but he holds tight, not quite able to carry the apex speed. So I think Graham Carroll's going to cut back across and have that position into turn 4. But yeah, that pit lane entry is tough as well because the speed limit starts right from the very beginning of the pit wall as Graham Carroll locks up his brakes. I think going into turn 4, hands the position to Vinicius Rocha, and is likely to get shuffled down now from Ricardo Ferreira. So Graham Carroll holding on to 2nd position for now. I think Philip Labert, good decision getting out of this and trying to put some laps in.
Yeah, he's just left the pits, and he's got a couple of visitors in there as well, along with George Wiseman, and Chris McGowan has made his pit stop as well. So those 3 guys first into the pits, and I think Labert should have a little bit of clear track in front of him now, so there's an opportunity to get out of that fight and see if he can jump them in the pits.
I really think these guys need to perhaps consider jumping in as well and covering off Philip Labert, so we'll see if Vinicius does. No, neither does Graham Carroll, neither of the 3 does, so I think that's a bit risky. If Philip Labert's going to have a bit of clean air, he's going to have scampered away. I think it'll be very interesting to see what these lap times are going to turn out like in the next couple of laps. So looking a little bit further back, I think we've got a fair few more pit stops happening as well. So back beyond 6th position, it looks like the rest of those cars that were around have all made their pit stops for now. So George Wiseman, certainly, who was in 8th, has stopped, and the next car back then is going to be Christian Manzini. He is the next car not to have stopped so far, I believe. And so Vinicius Rocha holding on to this first spot for now. Graham Carroll in 2nd, and Ricardo Ferreira right up on Graham Carroll's gearbox as they head to turn 10. Oh, Graham Carroll has a little bit of an oversteer moment coming into turn 10. It's tricky as they're turning still from turn 9, getting on the brakes to slow it down, and they managed to gather it back up. I thought it was going to skim the wall. Either of the 3 pit this time, they all continue by again. So we are on lap 17, of 34. So we are bang on halfway through now the session. Let's have a quick scroll through the rest of the standings. So we've got these top 3 cars running nose to tail. Will Fisher still just a 2.5 seconds or so back from the group. Duncan Coppage now is the car in 5th with Marco Derrickson in 6th. Next car along, as I said, was Christian Manzini in 7th with Dan Nygaard then in 8th. We've got Rich Jones in 9th, and currently in 10th position is Bill Lawrence. Let's have a scroll back to where Philip Labert is. He is currently in 11th, and he has got some clean air. That time by, he ran a mid 109, so a 109.447, and that time by the leaders were 0.3 slower. And that was one of their quicker laps. They didn't squabble so much that time by, so they need to keep this cleaner laps in if they want to be staying out for longer.
Just step in and help you out here, Lee, as it looks like we've just lost Conrad. So yeah, it's looking like cunning strategy from Labour there. That early pit stop, I think, could see him jump back out in front of these guys. He perhaps saw those lap times dropping, could see that Will was catching up and thought, let's get in now, get some clean air. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how that progresses.
Yeah, I'm very surprised the others didn't react. I mean, this time by, I have to say they are quicker, so Vinicius managed a 109.3 because they stopped squabbling for the minute, but really it felt like, you know, that lap after, that might have been the time to come in, but yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I think if they can just keep running in each other's draft rather than squabbling, then perhaps they'll hang in there, but I'm expecting really Philip to end up a good couple of seconds ahead. Duncan Coppage, meanwhile, under lots of pressure now from Marco Derricks. I think Duncan must have had a little bit of an issue last time by. He was half a second slower that time. Marco Derricks looking to go around the outside of turn 6. I think he's going to struggle there. He's going to try the cutback now, get a good straight exit coming out of turn 6. He does get a good drive, but there's not really anywhere now to get alongside. He's going to have to wait for the oval section again.
Yeah, it looks like there are a few key overtaking spots, turn 1, and then coming out of the oval section as well. So I think it's all for Duncan here. He just needs to make sure he gets this exit right, otherwise he's going to be right under the cosh going into turn 1 here.
And he does manage to build just a couple of car lengths through the end of that lap, so he'll be hoping he can just about hang on until they get to turn 4. Philip Labour, meanwhile, still has an empty track in front of him to try and bang in these laps. We'll see how he manages to punch in the lap as he comes over the line. And again, kind of unfortunately for Philip, really, you know, those lead 3 cars have settled down now, so they are putting those lap times in a little bit more. But I think Philippe is going to be right there and thereabouts. He is just coming over the line now, and he was slow that time by 10.1. So that was not the lap that Philip needed if he wanted to be braking ahead.
Yeah, it looks like he lost about 0.8 of a second that lap, so where previously he's been closing in maybe 2 or 3 tenths, so overall bit of probably a net loss now.
And so we're just waiting for the guys now to come back onto the oval section, coming through turns 11 and 12, and then that final corner, turn 13, coming through that pit entrance. And Ricardo Ferreira now is the next car to pit in. He hits pit lane speed limit quite cleanly, as does Will Fisher then behind, pitting from 5th position. Marco Derricks continues by, but Duncan Coppage also pits. So we now just have 3 cars at the front who are yet to start. Vinicius Rocha, Graham Carroll, and then one other who I have missed.
I think we'll keep an eye on Labour now, see where he comes out in regards to Ricardo, so see how long they're stopped. Billy was stopped for 13.5 seconds in the box as well. Let's have a look.
Labour crosses the start finish line. Philip Labour over the start finish line, coming past the end of the pit wall now.
Yeah, Ricardo was in there for ages. He's actually lost a place to Will Fisher. 17.3 second stop, so massive for him.
Something strange there. So Philip Labour has not gained a huge amount of time. I'd say that Will Fisher has definitely gained time on Philippe through that section there. But I said perhaps maybe Ricardo Ferreira didn't quite hit the speed limit. Could have been a pit lane penalty. I can't imagine he'd have made an error with maybe taking tyres when they're not needed things, because he is experienced in this series. He knows what it's about with making these pit stops. Meanwhile, Vinicius Rocha and Graham Carroll both make their pit stop from 1st and 2nd position. Just 2 or 3 car lengths between them as they trundle down pit lane. Marco Derricks now is going to take over the lead. He continues by for another lap.
Yeah, just keep an eye, see if Dan Nygaard comes in as well, or if he's going to continue through. No, he pops in as well, so it's just Marco Derricks out there now.
Philip Labour just coming over the start finish line. And Vinicius Rocha is away. He's gained lots and lots of time. And Graham Carroll is still stationary, and Vinicius Rocha is off and away. Philip Labour is going to split the 2 of them, so Vinicius Rocha is a good 3-4 seconds ahead of Philip Labour. And Graham Carroll has been leapfrogged by Will Fisher. Great job in the pit stops by Will Fisher. Graham Carroll and Ricardo Ferreira has both lost buckets of time to those other 3 cars. Yeah, Graham Carroll's actually half a second slower in the pits than Ricardo as well, which is why those guys have both dropped back. Will Fisher, like you say, great job up to 4th place. So our current standings at the front are Vinicius Rocha in 1st, Philip Labour coming out in 2nd. So that early pit stop kind of working okay for him overall, really. Will Fisher now in third, but he's going to be hounded quite soon, I think, by Graham Carroll. He's going to be looking to push up further, whereas a long way back now then is Ricardo Ferreira, sorry, in 5th position. That's going to put George Wiseman in 6th, Duncan Coppage 7th, Chris McGowan then in 8th, Tim Wick in 9th, and 10th position I believe is going to turn out to be Sergio Alvarez.
It looked like Marco ran out of fuel before he pitted in, so he's in lap very compromised there, so he might lose some ground. Just seems like he was pushing it just that little bit too far. Carroll having a look up the inside of Fisher into turn 1.
Yeah, and Will Fisher taking a very, very wide line going through. I think Graham Carroll's going to get a good exit, but he's going to have the outside now for turn 4. We've seen him go quite deep in previous laps, but I don't think he's quite going to be far enough ahead entering. He tries to hang on around the outside, stays away from that curb on the outside this time, but now he's got the inside for turn 6, and actually I think he's going to get a good drive coming through turn 6, and the move is already made before the braking zone. So Will Fisher now has dropped down a spot, and he is down now into 5th position. Graham Carroll up into 4th. So these pit stops have just broken up this lead group a little bit now. Vinicius Rocha's got a good bit of breathing space to Philip Labour, so a good sort of 3.5 seconds or so. Graham Carroll then, and a big tail slap from Will Fisher coming out of turn 10 in 3rd and 4th. Ricardo Ferreira then still in 5th. It looks like the next battle along is to watch George Wiseman have a big moment as well, coming through turns 11 and 12, and George Wiseman has a half spin. Marco Derrick's just about managed to avoid him, and I think George Wiseman's going to be able to continue on without any damage. I think he's lost 2 further positions.
I'm seeing Rocha drop through the timing screens at the moment. Whether that's just a bit of a timing bug, I don't know, but
I've lost him.
I don't see him on screen
track
either.
He had a big moment coming into the last corner, and he's made his way into the pits and parked up in the pit lane.
Oh wow, so Vinicius Rocha, race leader, has parked up it seems, so we'll try and catch up on that, on exactly what happened in a minute, but yeah, that was certainly off screen for me. Philip Labour now is going to be mighty relieved to have taken over that 1st position, very lucky. Graham Carroll now in 2nd, and then what were we saying earlier about Will Fisher sniffing that podium spot, certainly from those pit stops, that's working out for him, as I see Graham Carroll having a big sideways moment on the brakes into turn 10.
Having a quick look at the replay on screen now, I see balls are back, so we'll hand over to him just while we watch this replay. Just perhaps jumped a little bit too far back there, sorry about that guys. Yeah, just a couple of technical difficulties, but yeah, Rocha just he was coming into through, what was it, turn 12 into 13, and looks like just lost control of the car and half span into the pits, and that was that. It doesn't look like he picked up any damage, so I'm a bit surprised that he's just pulled it up there.
You never might just be a little bit of frustration, and I mean, if you're in such a tight battle and you make such a big mistake, it's it kind of blows the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, I just see that come through on my stream delayed there, and yeah, it seems to trying to be catching it for a long time, and almost got away with it. But as I said, very strange that he's parked it. So I think frustration perhaps was a good call, but that's big points lost there for Vinicius Rocha. This was a big opportunity this week to jump ahead of Sebastian Job in the standings, with Sebastian not being in the session. So very unfortunate there for Vinicius, but Philip Labour meanwhile is taking full advantage in this 1st position. Graham Carroll has built a good 2.5, 2 second gap now to Will Fisher then in 3rd. Ricardo Ferreira not really looking like he's going to be able to make any progress. He was just 0.2 quicker than Will Fisher that time by in 4th position. Marco Derrick's then in 5th. George Wiseman then is going to be the next car across in what will be Duncan Coppage, sorry, then is the next car then in 6th. George Wiseman in 7th, and he's under pressure from Chris McGowan. So this looks like potentially being our next battle between 7th and 8th, George Wiseman and Chris McGowan. In 9th then we've got Tim Wick, and currently rounding out the top 10 is Christian Manzini, as I see him just twitching slightly around turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, Ricardo Ferreira has been very consistent over his last 3 laps, all of them in the 1 minute 9.3s, and yeah, I think we'll keep an eye on him, because if those 2 in front of him, Will Fisher and Graham Carroll, start battling, he'll be onto them very quickly.
Oh, and Graham Carroll very, very lucky coming through turn 12. He had a big sideways moment himself, but I think it was due to not anticipating exactly what the back marker ahead of him was going to do, and he looked like he did very well to hold the car together and not lose too much time. I think he lost 3/4 of a second or so on that lap.
Yeah, Fisher's has dropped down as well. He seemed to have had a moment somewhere.
Very unfortunate for Will Fisher. It looked like he was doing a great job of moving forward after starting quite a bit further back on the grid in 8th position. So he's going to be looking to push up now and challenge Marco Derricks as soon as possible and get up into that 4th position again. So yeah, we're seeing a few little errors here. It shows this is a tricky little track. We're seeing these little errors, you know, at different parts of the track as well. You know, coming on and out of the oval, as well as through this twisty road section at the back.
Yeah, Will Fisher was just coming back onto the oval at turn 10, and he put about half a wheel on the grass, and that sent him off into a big spin. And yeah, it sent Ferrari through, and Fisher is from 3rd down into 5th now. I was saying that he's very quickly catching up with Marco Derricks in front of him. We'll quite possibly look at getting that place back at least.
Yeah, so this battle up front really has been blown open after those pit stops. So we had those top 4 cars all just separated by a couple of seconds or so, pretty much halfway for half of the race even. But now Philip Labert's just got to stroke the car home. Graham Carroll now, he's in no man's land. He just needs to keep the car on the track, as does Ricardo Ferreira, and that's guaranteed podium positions for all 3. Not really an opportunity to get any further, but as you said, Conrad, it's really down to Will Fisher to recover a little bit of his pride maybe and try and get back into that 4th position, 1st position off the podium spot. But Duncan Coppedge is in for a sniff as well. He was just a 10th quicker than those 2 cars in front of him last time by.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good spread now, and we're looking around the field for a couple, 1 or 2 battles developing, and that's certainly one of them. Again, just hopefully, just as we look at Duncan Coppedge, I'm not sure we should be concentrating too much on the man, because yeah, we were looking at Will Fisher, and as we were looking at him, he was spinning. So not to lay the commentators' curse on anybody else again tonight.
Yeah, we're quickly scrolling through the whole rest of the field. We don't have any other battles right at the moment, unfortunately. It really is just this battle for 4th and 5th between Marco Derricks and Will Fisher as they head towards turn 6. Will Fisher just clips a little bit of inside curb exiting turn 5, which wouldn't have helped his drive coming out of that corner. But he's sideways through turn 6, Will Fisher. So very you know, full marks for style, but that's lost him a big chunk of time, and he's a little bit now in no man's land, stuck between Duncan Coppedge and Marco Derricks. So that is our little potential squabble just cooled down for the moment, as Philip Labert crosses the start-finish line to start lap 29, and his lap times are looking very, very consistent at the minute. So running in a 109.4s pretty happily at the minute. So last 3 laps have all been within 700ths of a second of each other. So he's just really into that rhythm now.
Yeah, there's no pressure from behind, and I think he's just happy to sit out in the front and drive his own race. However, Will Fisher is with that mistake he made on that last lap, is only 6/10 ahead of Duncan Coppedge. He'll grab some of the draft coming into turn 4, and he's getting a much better run. He's going to drive straight past Will Fisher. Don't know if he's had a problem there or anything, but it just looks like it let Coppedge through.
Yeah, I'm just having a little look again quickly, and yeah, I didn't really see anything either. I think he got a slowdown penalty, in fact. So turning into turn 4, he cut much too much over that inside curb, and he just sensibly came off the throttle on the exit of turn 5, and as you said, just had to let Duncan Coppedge drive straight by him. So great first half of the race for Will Fisher, but really struggling now in comparison in the second half. But still in 6th position. Yeah, still a good strong result for his first outing here.
Yeah, I think for all of the top 3, including Will Fisher. Even with Graham Carroll possibly coming second and Ricardo Ferreira third, they're going to be scoring big points, and it's going to be a bit of a make-up for some of the not so satisfactory results they had earlier in the season.
So Will Fisher now is going to be finding himself under pressure from George Wiseman all of a sudden. So George Wiseman looking to get a good run coming towards turn 6 as well. He's going to be taking the outside line. He's just driven straight past as well. So I wonder if Will Fisher's picked up a little bit of damage now. He just didn't seem to have the power coming out of turn 5. I didn't see it to be like a slowdown penalty as I thought for the previous one, but Chris McGowan's going to be the next car up. So a real shame for Will Fisher here as he gets shuffled back down the back.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's particularly comfortable in that car at the moment, whether he's having some handling issues or something else, but
I guess the other option perhaps could be short fueled maybe.
That's a big possibility, but he's not putting up anything of a fight when other cars are coming up from behind.
And it would explain him getting such a good strong pit stop. You know, he did make up a good fair few positions through that pit running, so that'd be a real shame for him if there's just been a miscalculation there. But back at the front, Philip Labour still banging in those laps. He was just a couple of tenths slower off his sort of optimal pace for this last section of the race, but comfortably ahead in P1. Just a tenth slower last time by than was Graham Carroll in second, with Ricardo Ferreira there in third. He was quickest that time by all those podium positions. Marco Derrickson in fourth, with Duncan Coppage going to be delighted to be sitting in this 5th position, I'm sure. Last couple of outings, Duncan has been 12th position at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago. Where was he last week at Donington Park? Duncan. I don't think he was here at Donington Park last week. So yeah, this 5th position he's going to be very, very happy with, I'm sure. Then in 6th is George Wiseman, 7th Chris McGowan. Will Fisher now all the way down into 8th, just coasting around, I think, practically. Tim Wick then in 9th, who looks to be his teammate, I reckon, from the liveries. And 10th position is Christian Manzini.
We've had a couple of big name retirements from this race so far. We had very early on the opening lap was Kevin Vaughan, and shortly after we lost Michel Mancusi, who was involved in that lap 1 incident as well. Bart de Laat has been a very strong runner, out after about 9 laps, and then yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happened to Rocha. He had that little spin into the last corner, no apparent damage to the car, but decided to call it a day as well.
So Philip Labour coming back on towards the oval section now. He's just got 2 laps remaining until he's going to secure himself 60 points, sorry, and the race win looks to be surely in his pocket. Big opportunity to move up the standings. He's going to I think he's going to take the overall championship lead. In fact, he definitely will take the overall championship lead, because ahead of him is Sebastian Job, Vinicius Rocha, who are both not going to be scoring any or very many points in the case of Vinicius Rocha, and the only other car in front of me is Ricardo Ferreira, but he's only 1 point ahead in the standings. So Philip Labour looking to take over the championship lead here in round 4.
Yeah, I don't think we've had anybody take the full house of points at the end of the previous rounds. I mean, it's first place, pole position, fastest lap, and yeah, it's turning out to be a very, very good day.
So yeah, I think by the end of the race, Will Fisher is going to be caught by, I'm presuming, his teammate of Tim Wick. So we'll see if Will is able to get over the line, as Philip Labour now is about to cross the start-finish line to begin his very final lap. So heading into turns 1 and 2, just balancing the throttle as they go through that corner in 4th gear, holding a pretty tight line they tend to see, but not right on that yellow line on the inside, just sort of a third across or so. Then heading on to turn 4, heavy braking then, as they have a tricky little transition then as they cross sort of the oval section through into turn 5, and then straight up that steep hill then, and quite a clout that the cars get as they take that transition from the oval. Then this banked hairpin turn 6, where Philip Labour is going to cut to that inside corner and really able to carry a lot of drive, a lot of traction coming out through there. Turn 7 and 8 then a little kink, but completely flat all the way through, and then tricky braking through turn 9 to slow it down then for turn 10. You're not straight through majority of braking, and even on that final lap Philip Leyberts gets a little bit crossed up, and he's got a back marker just ahead of him to clear now, but gets well and truly out of the way just for him, Antoinette. So quite rightly Philip takes it nice and steady, but congratulations to Philippe Leyberts as he crosses the start finish line, and he takes his first win of the series. Then in second position is going to be Graham Carroll. He's had a great little run of races now, a third, a fourth and a second. Ricardo Ferreira, third position, really lost out in the pit stops, but Marco Derricks comes across in fourth. Duncan Coppedge, delighted I'm sure, in fifth. George Wiseman equally as well in sixth. That's going to be his strongest result of the series, and I think Chris McGowan then in seventh. Eighth position is going to be Tim Wick, and ninth then is going to be Dan Nygaard. And I think Will Fisher is well and truly out of fuel. He's going to struggle to reach the line. So yeah, Tim Wick then coming across in eighth, and in fact Tim Wick struggles for fuel as well. Tim Wick out of fuel, so Dan Nygaard jumps ahead out the final corner. He gets, I believe, 8th position. Yeah, 8th position for Dan Nygaard. Frank Castillo then jumps ahead as well and gets 9th. And yeah, Tim Wick coughing and spluttering over the line in 10th position. Christian Manzini then 11th, and Rich Jones then I think is going to be in 12th position. So it looks like a few cars struggling with their fuel calculations there at the end.
Yeah, one of the back markers was struggling as well. It's something we see on a weekly basis, but yeah, it's tricky with the fuel being so tight, and seeing what a big difference the pit stops can make.
Definitely does add a different dynamic to it by having this fuel in there, and I think just the way the fuel works in this particular car, I think to get the quickest possible stop they have to try and manually cancel it, I believe, and so easy just to make a slight misjudgment and get themselves a little bit tripped up. But yeah, great race. I mean, it cooled off a little bit in the second half race, but we had a great battle in those top 4 positions all the way up into the pit stops, and then a couple of little issues for some big drivers as you went through with us earlier on, Conrad. But I think we can say we're pleasantly surprised by the good little race that New Hampshire gave us.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable, and I think the best decision Philip Leyberts could have made earlier in the race was to take that early pit stop. He just took himself completely out of the equation by the looks of it. It helped him a little bit to keep out of trouble, and ultimately take the lead and win the race.
Yeah, as I said at the time, I was surprised that the others didn't react to it. I think in the end, the only car it really cost properly was Graham Carroll, because he was the one that didn't really have an issue anywhere else. So Vinicius Rocha had his spin, Ricardo Ferreira for some reason had a very, very slow stop, but maybe Graham Carroll had a very slow stop as well, actually, thinking back to it, didn't he? So, as I said, it didn't seem to affect the result in the end, but I was surprised that maybe there wasn't that reaction from the rest of the cars. But yeah, Philip Leyberts, congratulations again for the race win. He finished just over 5 seconds ahead of Graham Carroll. I think we pretty much went through the rest of the results as they went over the line, didn't we? So Graham Carroll second, Ferreira then in third, Marco Derricks fourth, Duncan Coppedge in fifth, George Wiseman sixth, Chris McGowan in seventh, Dan Nygaard eighth, Frank Castillo ninth, spluttering Tim Wick then in 10th, Christian Manzini 11th, a coasting Will Fisher in 12th, Rich Jones then in 13th, Bill Lawrence in 14th. For him, Anton Nadez finished in 15th, Brock Hopkins in 16th, Robert Adams in 17th, and he was the last runner. So 17 cars that were running at the end of the race. So next week in the Skip Barber 2K Cup, we are going to be at, he says he tries to click a link to get a different page open. We're going to be at Okayama Full Circuit, so that's going to be a much more traditional circuit for these Skip Barber cars. I would imagine we're probably going to get a pretty good turnout there. I think it's a pretty popular track for most people, really. It's obviously a free track on the service as well, so that gives a lot more of a chance for these numbers to boost back up a little bit, maybe to the numbers that we saw on the previous races. Okayama, pretty grippy little circuit generally in most cars as well, and a couple of good banked corners as well, leading on to a couple of longer straights. So I think we're going to see a lot of drafting down that back straight, Conrad, and I think some interesting moves as people get good drives come out of those hairpins.
Yeah, it's a track that all of us are very, very familiar with. Like I said, it's a free track, and we've all driven multiple cars around there. And I think, especially in the Skip Barber, it's gonna present multiple overtaking opportunities. Not just down the back straight, but coming after turn 1, you've got those S's going into leading onto the back straight, and then you've got that tricky middle section with a few twists and turns, but that comes out and leads you into the faster last corner again.
So just to remind any racers watching this back after the event, remember you can come and join us next week in TeamSpeak for a race interview. Just check out the weekly race thread if you want to get in on that, but nobody has joined us this week. I think normally it's been Vinicius, hasn't he, but he's taken an early bath. Congratulations again to Philippe for his race win and then taking over the lead of the championship. I think a missed opportunity for a couple of drivers, but Ricardo Ferreira scored good points, so he's going to be now second overall in the championship, possibly just jumping ahead of Sebastian. I think we will see exactly how that works out, but otherwise I think Graham Carroll is going to be right in the hunt as well, and we'll wait to see if Sebastian Job and LJ Garnett return next week at Okayama to try and defend their positions at the top of the standings again. So sorry, Paul.
No, that's all right. They drive well together, and hopefully, well, Sebastian we know is on holiday, and hopefully LJ Garnett would have healed from his injured foot, which we're still wondering about.
Right, well, we will look forward to finding out next week at Okayama. So thank you as normal to Alex working in the cameras and jumping in briefly into the comms, and Conrad for keeping me company and up to date with the race through the field here in the Skip Barber 2K Cup. Remember again, you can contact us on Twitter and in Facebook, and thank you again to our sponsors of Leo Bodmer and GT Omega Racing. We shall see you all again next week at Okayama next Sunday, 8 PM GMT, and we're looking forward to another cracking race that we just saw here this week in the Skip Barber 2K Cup. So thank you very much, guys, and we shall see you all again next week.
Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC. GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels, including Logitech, Fanatec, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.